every time that the Fed has taken an action, raised rates, he literally is telling us beforehand like what he's doing. So again, this entire time that they've been raising rates, we've been expecting it. They said they were raising rates by 3/4. They did that all through last year, and then to start the year they raised it by 0.5%, right, the interest rate, and then they said they're going to raise it by 0.25% now. So they're slowly decreasing the rate. And we've known this for like a year.
Yeah.
Because the Fed publishes a dot plot and it shows you exactly what they're going to do. So I don't know. I don't know why people are making such a big deal about it when they actually raise rates, because we already know it's coming.
Yeah.
So to me, I feel like it should be priced into the market, but it's obviously not.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Angel Research Podcast. We are here as usual to discuss the market's hottest stock stories and investment opportunities. We've got Alex Boulden with us today. Alex is the founder of an investment newsletter called Insider Stakeout. Why don't you tell us what Insider Stakeout is? Maybe give us some background about yourself, Alex, so I don't have to put any words in your mouth or anything like that.
Yeah, sure. So Insider Stakeout follows legal insider trading in the stock market, which happens all the time. And I guess I just wanted to start off by setting the theme. I've been reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and he has a pretty good quote in here that pertains to insider trading. He says, "It's all insider trading. There are forms of insider trading that are illegal, but there are forms of insider trading that are legal. But either way, it's insider trading. The only distinction is how far from the inside how far away from the inside are you? The reason you want to have rich friends is because that is where the money is made. It's made on information." So I think that kind of highlights the theme of insider trading in the market. You're looking for information that you don't really have access to, and the only way that we have access to that information is through Form 4 filings, which are filed by company insiders through the SEC. And we follow those and try to make a profit. And the very first insider trading scandal, this was illegal in the U.S., was in 1906. And this is when directors of the Union Pacific Railroad were accused of delaying an announcement of a dividend increase in the stock so that they could purchase shares before they increased the dividend, and thought that the share price would increase.
Was that something that kind of like was the impetus of us creating these laws where they have to file these Form 4s and go through all this paperwork? Or
it was the first time that people really saw corruption in the markets.
Yeah.
So people thought it was unfair. So yeah, luckily today insiders can still trade on information, but the only difference is they have to report their trades.
Gotcha. And so basically you're kind of like trying to find a way to like even the playing field, if you will.
Exactly, yeah. And because it gives everyday investors like, me and my readers a chance to see what they're buying and what information that they have that they're not disclosing.
Have you noticed like any different, like any kind of patterns in insider trading over the last like couple of years? Is it, are we seeing more insider trading, or is it just that the public is paying a little bit more attention to it?
That's a good question. I think it's pretty much the same, but it is coming to prominence, especially through congressional insider trading. People are just kind of seeing that now, and they didn't really understand it before, and now they're seeing like, oh, people are actually making millions of dollars and they're trading on information that we don't have. So
what exactly are you looking for when you're looking for insider trading? Are you looking for sells? Are you looking for buys? Are you looking for like a specific group of people who are purchasing? Or
yeah, I like looking at the CEOs, the CFOs, and the COOs of companies. Anybody who's in the C-suite, you can pretty much guarantee that they're in all the board meetings. They have all the information. They know what's coming up. They know that there might be announcements around the corner that could send the stock up. Now, we don't know why they would sell necessarily, so we don't really pay attention to that as much. But
yeah,
I've heard totally look at that, and
I've heard, I don't know what the exact quote is, but I guess it's like there's pretty much one reason why someone's going to, like an insider is going to buy, and there's a million different reasons why someone would sell.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe someone just needs to, like, I don't know, they need a down payment for their new condo in Florida or something like that.
Their new yacht.
Yeah. All right, so you have this kind of theme of like getting back on the insiders, or at least like, you know, I guess maybe evening the playing field. And I think one way that investors are trying to do that, outside of maybe tracking insider trades, is they're messing with meme stocks, and they're trying to like combat people who are shorting stocks. I know that you've written some articles about this recently, and you've warned against this kind of method of investing. You think that it's dangerous. What are some big meme stocks right now? And then should investors be touching those at all, or you know, should they just be staying away from them completely?
I mean, so the meme stocks that are, you know, the classic meme stock examples are like Virgin Galactic, GameStop, AMC, Bed Bath & Beyond, and even like Tesla. And basically the meme stock party, it happens when people are on Reddit channels or something like StockWits is another website where people...
StockWits or StockTwits?
Is it StockTwits?
I think StockTwits,
okay.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing people like it's basically a forum where people are just saying like, oh, buy. I'm going to buy it right now. Like, oh, it's going to $5, but it's not based on anything. They're just literally pumping and dumping.
Yeah.
And the danger is that if you follow that and you're too late, then you're just going to be holding the bag. So I think that's why it's dangerous. You know, it's like...
And the companies also kind of suck too, right? Like, this is what I don't get, is that like the people get so like excited about, you know, they're fighting the man. And I feel like they get caught on this kind of like trap that they're being this like rebel or activist investor, when really you're just like putting your money into a company that is clearly failing. Like, you know, GameStop, I don't see how the GameStop model works long term.
Exactly. And Bed Bath & Beyond like said that they were or on the verge of declaring bankruptcy.
Yeah. So
why would you buy that exactly? Just to make a quick buck, which that's the only reason I can see to do that. And it's kind of like gambling at that point. You're just trying to get lucky, and then I mean, maybe they believe in the company, but
I think it's mostly greater fool theory. And
yeah, sure.
And then people end up getting kind of they definitely end up screwing themselves.
They do, especially if I was listening to a podcast the other day and somebody called in and said that they were, you know, they got into the market through GameStop and AMC. They made a lot of money. I think they put like I think they put 60,000 in the market, and it went up to like 120, and then they started playing options and then lost it all, and then took out a loan to try to get the money back, and then they lost all of that. So it's super risky.
Yeah. So you're generally not recommending anything that, like, I mean, are you following these forums and trying to catch any of that activity, or you're just kind of staying away and you're mainly looking at what the so-called smart money is doing? Because I think if you were to define the dumb money, it would probably be the people that are buying into these meme stocks.
I've totally like looked at those forums, and with my own personal money, it's never. It's always too late. It's like you see it and you're like, okay, like maybe this is going to run a little bit, and then it's not. They're just selling, and probably selling short as well. Like, even though they tell you that, like, oh, we're burning the shorts here, like they're going to lose all their money, on the back end, I mean, how could you not be shorting it at that point? Yeah. So it's risky.
So I feel like there was like people were talking about meme stocks for a while, and they were going crazy. And then they ended up losing all their money, and there was like crickets. And now we're kind of seeing this like resurgence. Is this like a last gasp that we're seeing maybe, or is there something else that's happening? Like, is this just the new normal where we're going to start seeing these like occasional waves of people like, buying these meme stocks?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I didn't expect the Bed Bath & Beyond at all. I mean, did you see it recently? Like how it...
I saw it moving. Like I was like reading it, and there was like some just all the news was bad, and then but then the stock is coming up, and I'm just like this.
Popped.
It just seems like a good short opportunity, but I also don't want to like mess with people that are, actively manipulating the stock.
Yeah, I don't see in the long term that this is going to be a trend. I feel like it's got to be just a short term. Like
they have to run out of money eventually.
Yeah, I mean, last year was bad on the whole for the markets, and they probably just wanted to come out like swinging for the year, and they got their little bump. But I mean, obviously now all of them are down. I believe so.
Well, it's definitely some. I think that it's very cultish behavior. And on the topic of cults, we have let's switch the conversation to Elon Musk. He recently wrote an article about some selling that he's doing, some insider selling at Tesla. How much is he? You said he was selling billions. Do you know how much exactly? Or
yeah, and he's done this in the past, but the most recent sale was $3,581,065,589.
Yeah.
So nice to have that money in there in the first place. And in the short term, obviously that's not good for the stock. It's dropped 15% since that sale. I think that was in December. But I believe he sold it to fund his Twitter purchase. So I don't think he was selling that as any indication of like a long-term trend for the stock.
I was going to ask you about that, and then maybe just kind of maybe your thoughts on the EV industry in general. Are you seeing any other like insider selling or buying in the in the EV industry? Because I know that there's like a lot of I guess headwinds that they're going to be running into with like a lot of lithium crunch, and I know that Tesla just they dropped a lot of the prices on their cars, so there's kind of going to be this pricing war.
Yeah. EVs are complicated now, aren't they? At first, everybody was loving them, and now it's just, it doesn't seem like the right place to put your money.
I think reality starts to set in. Like, it's typical hype cycle. People get really excited about something, and then kind of the reality sets in that, well, shit, these are actually like, they might not be as green as we thought they were. They're also
for sure
extremely expensive to make. And, I feel like people also get caught into this. Again, it's almost like this activist trap where they think that they're doing something that's, they're supporting something that's good for the world and good for the economy. But then we realize that, like, everyone's mining cobalt with slave labor.
I know. It's nuts. Yeah, the precious metals is a real thing, and people don't realize it until you, like, show them, and they're like, oh, right. Like, the end of the supply chain is actually terrible for human beings. Now, Tesla did say that they were moving away from using cobalt in some percentage of their batteries.
Sure.
They're moving away from it. But I don't know.
Do you know if that's a replacement, or it's just like they're reducing the amount? Do you know anything about the technology side of that?
I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that they're replacing it. Like they're eliminating it from their batteries. But EVs in general, I know that there are other forms of EVs. Like I really like the prospect of electric airplanes. I know that's kind of like a far-fetched idea, but there was, one company that I follow, there has been a lot of insider buying and insider selling in there. So that company's Archer Aviation. I just think it's such a cool idea. I mean, I know you got back from a flight, or you said your flight was messed up, you couldn't get the connection. And I mean, these guys will fly in it's called an eVTOL, so electronic vertical takeoff and landing.
Yeah.
They'll come in, pick you up, take you out, and go to your next destination, from the airport.
Are these like private flights for the ultra rich? I would assume, and are there more?
I think now, yeah.
But maybe one day we get some kind of fusion powered EV and flying EV, and you could just, I don't know, take a trip over to Europe.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
Okay, so you recently wrote about some of your top stock picks for 2023. One thing that I pulled from that article is that you were talking about psilocybin stocks. Are we seeing any kind of insider activity there, or is that kind of just an industry that you are bullish on because of the merits of the pharmaceutical tech?
There has been insider buying in two companies, ATAI Life Sciences and Silo Pharma. For Silo Pharma, the CEO and president bought 4 different times in December.
Okay, that's promising.
Yeah, he didn't really buy that much.
Yeah.
It looks like $2,000 worth, but still, it's something. He's putting money back into his company. For ATAI, there was a 10% owner, institutional investor, Aperion Investment Group, that bought significantly more. So maybe they have an announcement coming up. I'm not sure. But I think it's a good sign, maybe for the industry as a whole, that insiders are starting to kind of get behind it, and it's no longer taboo, I guess.
So when you see that kind of buying activity, are you like immediately blindly going out and buying a stock, or that's kind of just like an indicator for you to dig in a little bit further?
Yeah, that's just for this especially, because it's only for each stock. It was only one group who bought. I wouldn't necessarily go out and buy it right away.
Yeah. So we've talked about cluster buying before. Could you kind of expand on that idea?
Yeah, cluster buying is something in the industry that refers to, I believe it's 3 or more insiders and typically C-suite execs purchasing stock around the same price and around the same time.
Okay.
So that really shows you hey, maybe they just had a board meeting and maybe they all just decided to buy shares. Or something.
Or something's going on, and yeah. I guess it makes sense. If one person's buying, they might have their own reasons. They might just be stupid, but if you have 3 people buying, there's probably something going on in the company that is probably is positive.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. All right. Any psilocybin stocks that you like other than the 2 that we mentioned, or are those kind of? I've gotten boned on
same.
I got boned on MindMed, which I bought way back, and it was kind of, I didn't put a lot of money in it. It was it was one of those lottery picks, but
that's what it feels like. There's also Cybin. I really if you are investing in these companies, you got to look 5, 10, I mean maybe even longer, years out.
Yeah.
So. I don't think that this is going to happen overnight, but it's a cool idea, and it's something that if we see a run up like we did with pot stocks, what was that, 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
it's an interesting idea.
I do think a lot of people are expecting a similar kind of recreational boom. So I was telling you earlier, I just went up to the Pacific Northwest. I was in Washington. I was in Oregon, and I knew that Oregon had passed some sort of recreational usage of psilocybin, and I thought I was just going to be able to go there and buy mushrooms in the store, and I was going to do it, but I realized that you have to they opened a bunch of illegal mushroom shops, and they all got shut down because you have to take it in the presence of a person who they you go in and they ask you questions, and it's an actual appointment, which seems like a really I don't know good way to kill your trip. And they like need to I guess they like want to make sure that you have like arrangements to get home after you take it, and
Okay.
so it's
Well,
just
maybe they could do that at bars if people drinking alcohol.
yeah. But I guess it was just a shock to me because I was assuming that it was becoming more like, oh yeah, just like you could walk into the weed store like in most states these days and just get some recreational marijuana, and you can't really do that with even in the state that they have approved it for psilocybin, which I guess is it's probably a good idea to not having people tripping balls on the street all day.
Probably good for people's productivity to not do that, but yeah, I mean there are a lot of like encouraging studies out there now about for treatments of depression and
yeah, I mean, I
things,
believe in it as a actual therapeutic treatment. I think there's definitely some promise there, but as far as like will it ever be as big as marijuana? Are people going to be consuming massive amounts of mushrooms? Like someone could smoke people are smoking a blunt a day, and spread out over time. They're buying a ton of weed. Like, are people going to be buying a ton of mushrooms, or is
exactly? Yeah, because in all the clinical studies or whatever, it's usually like they do it once, and then they're like, oh, I get it now, and like I don't have to do that again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is a really good point. You just have to figure out some sort of where they're getting the money from, and if sales are going to increase. So, yeah, I would say recreational is not on the horizon.
All right, let's hit on some more instances of insider buying. You recently wrote an article and you mentioned 3 companies. You mentioned Carvana, Immersion, and Summit Therapeutics. Mm-hmm. And I guess you weren't really like saying that these there's active insider buying. You were kind of using these 3 companies as examples of how how insider activity can indicate movement. Could you walk us through each one of those, maybe starting with Carvana? I think you use this as an example of how insiders can be wrong.
Yeah, well,
or at least temporarily.
So insiders were buying shares at around $7, and
Carvana's what now, at like $5? Like I haven't checked.
Dude, I don't know.
I mean,
5 or 6 maybe.
It crashed almost like 2. It was like around 2. Like I was looking at it. So
yeah, it had a pop. And then people sold it. I mean, that's just like, it's what people are doing. And especially because used car prices are on the downtrend. They're down, I think they dropped 10% last year.
Yeah. And they just sold a bunch of loans recently too, right? I was reading.
Carvana?
Yeah.
I think that's right.
Yeah, I was reading something about they were trying to do like a poison pill, limiting shareholder control because they don't want, activist investors to take over. Yeah,
I mean, Carvana... Have you ever seen one of their like vending machines?
I have. Well, not in person, but I've seen pictures, and I was reading something recently. Like I guess they put one up in, I don't know where they put it up, but they had someone took a picture of it, and it's still completely empty.
Yeah.
And I guess they're like trying to permit it, and I don't personally see the like appeal of like if you're buying a car, that's a huge decision. Like I don't want to buy it out of a fucking vending machine. I want to to talk to somebody, or I want to test drive it, or
got a test drive.
Yeah, and I guess you would take it. I guess you can take it for a test drive out of the vending machine, but it just seems like a weird, just a gimmick.
It does, like especially even if you go to a car dealer. Like when I was buying my car, I wanted to test drive one, and they had to like take it out of. It was like on the showroom floor.
Oh yeah.
And they had to like open the doors and like drive it out, and I was like, I'm not gonna buy this car. I felt really bad. I was like, I guess I got to drive it now.
Yeah. Well, I guess there is that like social anxiety of dealing with people at the dealership, and there is something to be said about just buying a car at a set price and not having to haggle with people. I think some people like to haggle. Some people are just like, I don't want to deal with people. I just want to like do the transactional by myself.
I think it's pretty cool that you can just go online and they market it as a company that will buy your car and like come pick it up, but they'll only do that in like 3 states or something.
Yeah.
It's like New Jersey, Pennsylvania. I don't know. It might just be New Jersey. I don't know. But once I saw that, I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to sell my car to them. So it seems that company might be in trouble.
You think they're screwed?
It's hard to say. From the insider buying,
that's I guess that's a question. Is like, how much merit are we putting in the insider buying? Because maybe it's like, the insiders know that everything's going to be all right in the long term, and the company's just getting beaten down because they kind of got hit with a bunch of bad news, also just really bad timing with the way the stock market was going, and that Carvana kind of was like a meme stock at some point.
Yeah.
So it kind of suffers from a lot of people just trying to dump those shares.
Mm-hmm.
I own some shares of Carvana. I'll admit it.
Uh-oh.
What about Immersion?
So Immersion Core was a company that I liked. They're a haptic feedback company.
Yeah.
So like touch screens. Obviously that's like virtual reality.
Yeah. So like when you touch if you're using like an Xbox controller and it's buzzing back at you, that's immersion tech. If when you touch your phone and it buzzes, that's immersion tech.
Right. So I found that last year insiders did buy a lot of shares. You had the chief strategy officer, the executive chair, the CFO as well.
So what you're looking at here is just this is like a consolidated list of it's a record of all the insider buying that has gone on at the company.
Yeah, and everything's available on the SEC website, and you can kind of filter it how you want it for yourself.
Sure, but most people don't really have the time to do that, obviously, and that's kind of your role is
exactly
to filter through that information, because there's, I can even imagine how many pages of this stuff there are on the public markets on a daily basis.
Right. It's a time-consuming task to just go in and then not only just to see what it is, but to kind of think a little further down the road and see what is actually going on behind these trades. So I liked that they were buying shares, and I really do like VR, AR companies. I think that's going to be around for in the long term.
Yeah.
So
it's not going anywhere, that's for sure.
And then what was the other one? Summit Therapeutics.
Summit Therapeutics, yeah.
That was a cancer research company. So they had. So yeah, they work on infectious diseases, but they also had a cancer drug that was like awaiting. They had an antibody that was awaiting commercialization. So they bought. We had the CEO and the co-CEO and president, and then the CFO buy shares, all on the same day, for 97 cents a share. So all the same amount.
It's wild to me that is legal, because clearly they are operating off of some insider information. Like they know for sure it's going to be approved, and then they're all buying on the same day, and it's like, okay, it's cool because we disclosed it.
Well, that's the rub. Like that's the whole that's the big picture. That happens all the time, and so I think that it's trading for like $4 a share now, and after the licensing agreement was announced, it shot up.
Yeah.
So.
Do you notice a trend with pharma stocks or anything like that? Because I would, like, my guess is that is definitely a sector or an industry where insider trading is looking at that information would be super like very important to look at that information, because these people know. They know what the trial data looks like beforehand. They know what they're talking to the regulators. They have an idea of these like really critical approvals and data releases that you're not really going to get that insight anywhere else.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And typically, that industry, biopharmaceutical, biotech, it's super volatile. So if you're able to pinpoint when you need to buy, I think that is super useful.
All right. So these, I guess I want to talk a little bit about accountability for these traders. I have two kind of like opposing news stories that came out over the last week or two. One of them is a guy, Nikhil Wahi. I'm definitely mispronouncing this guy's name, but he was sentenced to 10 months in prison for trading using insider trading crypto. And this was kind of like a landmark case. The guy was sentenced to prison.
Was this the Coinbase one?
Yes, I believe so. And I could be wrong, but I believe that's the case. And then the other one was that the SEC ended an insider probe of ex-Senator Richard Burr and his brother-in-law. So is there some sort of, and, obviously these are just two examples, but is there something going on where, they're more likely to go after some like random crypto bro than they are like a senator or a CEO, and like the game is still kind of rigged, even though some people are getting charged? Like I'm not trying to defend the guy who was trading off the misinformation with crypto, but maybe this is more of a statement than a question. I just feel like it would be nice to see these some of these bigwigs get called out, or actually be punished for this stuff, or
some sort of accountability.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, the Coinbase one, he was trading. He was getting information on tokens or coins that were about to be listed.
Okay.
And then he bought them ahead of time. And I mean, it makes you wonder, like, is crypto and on our tokens like the same thing as stocks?
Yeah.
So like, why would that apply to this?
Yeah. Well, I guess they're I guess they do classify them as securities.
Securities, yeah. But it's like, are they though?
But it's also, I mean, how is that much? It doesn't seem that different from if someone were to buy private shares, which is like what they, if you're only allowed to buy private shares in certain companies if you make a certain amount of money, or if you have a certain amount of money. And, they'll let guys like, Bezos and Musk and whoever get in on those private shares early before they go public. And then they go public and everyone's buying them at a higher price.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's just like we're playing with like kind of like semantics here. And really, the people that are getting in early are always the ones who are going to profit.
Yeah. I'm not 100%, up to date with the case, but I don't know when that occurred, that when he was doing that. So I feel like it must have happened when the government already said that, yes, crypto is the security or whatever. Yep. So that's why they punished him. And basically the rule is there, so it keeps everything fair. So I guess if they see that if that's clearly something unfair that you're doing, then I guess you're gonna go to jail.
So last time we were on here, I think there was a lot of like actual like congressional activity that was going on. They were trying to pass some like insider trading ban, or I guess they were trying to ban people in Congress from trading at all. And Nancy Pelosi was like everywhere in the media, and I feel like that's really calmed down lately. Yeah. Is that just like, is that over with? Is the story done with? Is there going to be any more push to ban trading in Congress? Or
so Nancy Pelosi's she's out, right? She's no longer the Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
So
wait, is that? I honestly don't freaking know, dude. I've been plugged from politics like just so hard lately. I'm just so tired of I just am like focused on the finance and the business and stuff. So I guess there is some relation, but like I'm so tired of the bickering.
I'm tired of it as well. I believe that she's no longer Speaker of the House.
But is she in there at all?
Well, that's what I don't know, because I found an article that said that Nancy Pelosi sold like $100,000 worth of Roblox stock. So
it's fucking hilarious that she's buying Roblox. Like she doesn't know shit about Roblox.
So I don't know if that was actually her or like before if that was her husband. Because when she was Speaker of the House, she couldn't trade
Yeah.
herself. She had to her husband did it, and she had to disclose it.
Well, she was definitely like she was one that was kind of putting a kibosh on the ban. So maybe with her, her aging out of her longtime role, maybe we will see some sort of
A ban.
yeah.
It's possible. I think it's popular in Congress.
Well, is it popular? Is it actually popular in Congress, or is it popular with the
Constituents?
Yeah.
I, never say never, but they're probably not going to do anything about it.
Okay. Let's before we close this out. It's still January. It's the beginning of the year. The CPI data recently came out. I know you've kind of been following that because, part of your premise isn't just following these, it's not just corporate insiders. You're just looking for, all the people who are in the know and all the powerful people who are controlling the money. And one of the things that you're looking at is the Fed data and the CPI numbers that they're obviously closely monitoring right now. Could you comment a little bit on the recent CPI data that came out, and then maybe what do we expect the Fed to do in February?
Yeah. Well, so basically all of the numbers that have come out are in line with expectations.
Yeah, minus a point, a fraction of a percentage, essentially, right?
Yeah, I think the CPI data was in line. The PPI was lower by 0.4%, or I don't know the actual number, or I think the analyst said it was negative 0.1 and then it was down 0.5. So difference of fractions. But every time that the Fed has taken an action, raised rates, he literally is telling us beforehand what he's doing. So again, this entire time that they've been raising rates, we've been expecting it. They said they were raising rates by 3/4. They did that all through last year, and then to start the year they raised it by 0.5%, right, the interest rate, and then they said they're going to raise it by 0.25% now. So they're slowly decreasing the rate, and we've known this for a year.
Yeah,
because the Fed publishes a dot plot and it shows you exactly what they're going to do. So I don't know. I don't know why people are making such a big deal about it when they actually raise rates, because we already know it's coming.
Yeah.
So to me, I feel like it should be priced into the market, but it's obviously not, because people are just selling whenever they hear the Fed's going to raise again. It's sell all of my stocks.
Yeah, well, I think people are generally hoping for some kind of pivot, or at least they're looking for they're trying to read between the lines when Powell gets up and says some stuff. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that I feel like the Fed's just been kind of misreading the data and being really slow on stuff sometimes. And obviously there's kind of this balancing act between, they don't want to throw us into a recession, but they also don't want to, you don't want inflation to go out of control.
Yeah, I mean, and the inflation has, in the numbers at least, in the CPI data, that it has come down, which, Wall Street likes.
Yeah.
But I think today it was the labor market is still super strong, stronger than expected. So that conversely is not a good thing, because that means that they'll have to continue to raise rates.
Yeah.
For the year, he said that Jerome Powell has said that he's not going to
deviate.
Yeah. So that's what we're looking at.
That seems to be his MO, is that he's we're going to do what we're going to do, and we're going to, we're not going to take any single month worth of data and be overly reactionary to it, which, in some sense I feel is a good thing. And in another sense, I feel like they're screwing the pooch here, because they're really just they're reacting so slow, and it's I don't know, I just feel like we're not taking the actions that we need to, and they're just looking at the hard data, and a lot of that data is late too. Like the rent data comes in like a couple months after.
Mm-hmm. Yep, always at least the previous month. So
what's 2023 look like for the stock market and for the economy? Has the stock market already priced? Have we already priced a recession in? And have we already priced a recession in? And we're kind of like almost out of the woods in the stocks, but the economy is going to get hit, or are we going to get hit with a recession and the stocks are also going to continue to crash?
Well, I had thought that we were already in a recession.
Yeah, they did a really good job of redefining recession and kind of like gaslighting everybody into to thinking that we are not in a recession.
Yeah, so I guess my thesis last year was that by the end of the summer last year, that it would be better, and so obviously wasn't right about that. But that's because I think that the semantics of calling it a recession have kind of confused everybody, and it's kind of confused the market. So I think that's why it's not getting priced in accurately. And I think I would just follow what the Fed has said that they're going to do. I wouldn't predict that they're going to do anything different. If people keep overreacting to the rate hikes, then we could see it going down. But once people realize that the American economy is actually really strong, and you don't really want to bet against America.
Yeah.
I forget who said that. That's maybe like a Buffett quote or something.
Sure.
Don't bet against America. But I think that people are going to realize that stocks are on sale, and they keep going on sale. And especially for your dividend plays, if you're a dividend investor, this just gives you an opportunity to get in lower your price average. And the only thing that you can do, what are you going to do? Pull out all your money? It's like, that seems like a terrible idea.
It is definitely, I think, a reaction that a lot of people have as they get afraid. And I'd be very hesitant to pull anything out of the market right now.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're like obviously with any risk, if you have more risky plays, set a trailing stop and don't go below that. If you hit it, then it sells automatically and you're fine. Like, just don't react the way most people are reacting, because that's how you will follow the herd, and you don't want to get caught in that herd mentality.
All right. So you have any parting advice for investors who are trying to kind of, make good trades this year and follow some of that insider trading activity and momentum to their benefit?
Yeah, I would just make sure to follow the big guys, Buffett, Munger. I would keep looking at Pelosi too, because those people seem to know what the good deals are, and if you follow them, just be careful of your risk.
Yeah, and well, speaking of people to follow, you kind of have like a targeted list of not just these like kind of big well-known names, but you have kind of like more obscure people who manage other people's money. I forget like what you called these people. But you basically like, I mean, you were telling me about there's like I guess a group of traders who will, I don't know, they're like money managers, and you can follow what they're doing.
Yeah, the money managers of the super wealthy, like the people who manage Bill Gates' money, even the people who manage, I'm drawing a blank, but basically, if you look to the actual money managers, they can be good people to follow as well.
That makes sense. All right. Any plugs?
Yeah, you can check out my service. You can follow the YouTube channel as well. My service is Insider Stakeout, and we are following the insiders and following the smart money, and don't follow the dumb money.
Okay. On YouTube, Insider Baseball. What's the
Baseball.
What's the premise? What's the premise? It's our other. We have it's another series that we have on this channel.
Yeah, I just do a goofy little short video every week, and where I go over the top insider trades that I'm looking at. So that's you can find me on there on the.
Is there like a set day that those come out?
It comes out on Friday, every Friday.
Okay, cool. And you're in the Discord channel, right?
Oh yeah.
So, this is the first we've mentioned the Discord channel on the show, but we're going to start dropping some links and trying to build that community up a little bit. Essentially, give our audience and readers kind of access to our designated experts and the people who are just spend every working hour of their life digging into stocks and things like that. So we've got Alex on there. We've got other people as well. What's your handle on there?
The Inside Job.
The Inside Job. All right.
I actually really like the Discord channel. I think people get a lot of good information there.
Cool. So. Well, we can we'll drop a link, and then people can maybe chit chat with you in there, and find out whatever they need to know about the recent insider trading that's going on. Alex Boulden with Insider Stakeout, and thanks everybody for listening to the show. See you next time.